John Knapp. I'm the co-founder of Source 2050. Source 2050 is a multi-vendor marketplace for passive house and high-performance products. We have over 500 individual products from several dozen vendors. We've been really excited to have TimberHP on since the early days. We've had the fill and the bat when it launched. And as Shannon said, I don't think a week has gone by in the last year plus that we haven't gotten an inquiry from somebody looking for the board. When is it available? What are you hearing? So there's been a lot of anticipation for the release of the board, and it's finally here. So I know we're really excited about it. I know a lot of you are as well. At Source 2050, we're going to be launching a new series next year in 2026 called Product Workshop with Kevin. As he mentioned, he's just joined us, and he's going to be spearheading these kind of workshops. We're going to do at least once a month, featuring one of our products each session, where we'll have someone from the brand and Kevin kind of dig into the product. How is it used? What advantages does it present over potentially other products that you have been using? When can it be used properly? And then most importantly, answering your questions. We're going to reserve some time at the end of this for exactly that. We want to hear about what you guys are working on. We'll try to get to some of those answers right away. We can also take those offline and do a follow-up. It's a lot of what we do at Source 2050 is we want to kind of hear about what you're working on and help you come to a solution and kind of spread that knowledge to the rest of the community. So I am going to hand it over now to Kevin to introduce himself a little bit, kind of his perspective on TimberBoard. And then Jason's going to give us a presentation. Towards the end, we'll do kind of a catch up between the two of them, and then we'll have some Q&A. Throughout this, Shannon is going to be there in the chat, making sure everybody's questions are queued up for the Q&A and answering any questions that you might have as we go, providing useful links about topics that are covered and the rest of it, all the magic that she does. So without further ado, I'm going to hand off to Kevin. Kevin.
Thank you, John. I'm Kevin Brennan with Source 2050. I'm the Director of Building Systems and Performance. So my role here at 2050 is to try and expand the knowledge base of the products that we offer and the systems that we enable. My background is in passive house as a passive house tradesperson, as a trainer, but also as a contractor, installing, running blower door tests, helping high performance projects get over that finish line. And I'm hoping in the future to help you and your projects get over the finish line and meet those performance goals. And part of the process of being in that edge of excellence and early adopters is taking on new products that make sense for the world, make sense for the climate, make sense for your project. And for many years, we've looked over across the pond to Europe with envy over these wood fiber board products that get thrown on the outside of buildings that give our value, sequester carbon and let vapor go through them. And they just make a lot of sense. And the team at TimberHP dug in, and such a great story to hear how they came about. I'll let Jason tell the story there, but I know it's inspired me to just keep going, pushing on. There's a need for it. There's a market, we can get it. And to see how they've gone and developed their product line has been exciting. That's pretty much all I got. I'm interested and excited to see the beautiful relationship between TimberBoard, CLT, exterior insulation that doesn't burn, is vapor open, environmentally friendly, easy to use, easy to cut, no fancy PPE needed to really use the products. So let's get this show on the road. Jason.
Okay, thank you. I'll see if I can get this. All right.
Just a quick note. I've now solved the issue on chat, so everyone should now be available. Thanks for sticking through with us on this, but everyone should be able to chat now. Sorry, Jason. Go ahead.
Excellent. Thank you. Jason Todd, I'm the Director of Building Science and Industry Support for TimberHP. I've been with the company for a little over 3 years, early days. It's been a fun ride and a great learning experience. Came from manufacturing, some time in architectural firms, some research and development around best practices, and always been interested in building science. And I will admit that even as someone that had a bit of experience already, had wrapping my head around wood fiber took a little bit. Once that light bulb clicked, it all kind of fell together and it makes so much sense. And, one of the things that we really have taken a great deal of pride in is this triptych, this three-legged stool of HP, which is high performance, healthy planet, and healthy people. And the importance of that, not one over the other necessarily, but leading with performance in some ways, and maybe in some unconventional ways. And I think that's part of the learning curve and also the excitement of using something that is so magical, which is wood, something that we've known in building for quite some time, and these new innovative ways that have been brought to us by over 20 years in Europe. And some time here in the States long before. We've used wood as an insulator in the past. I think we're getting back to the basics and really seeing the advantages of that. And it is above grade solutions. We're not going to fit underneath the slab necessarily. There's some great products out there like Glavel, some our neighbors over in Vermont, and other ways of addressing below grade things. But very conventional approach to market, certainly led by less conventional passive house, net zero, all of those great things, mass timber, and I think we fit in so many of those spaces as well. Have a couple of projects. We've gotten our material into traditional residential, into multi-family, of course, as many of you may already know, with some of the cavity insulations. But in that performance, people, planet, we're really intending to be a material for everyone, to be price point competitive with what is in the market. The traditional fossil-based, petrochemical-based materials out there have their merits for sure, but I think that makes a lot more sense when you're using bio-based materials, when you don't have to go that extra mile, and we can be price point competitive to cavity insulations and continuous exterior insulations as well. I'll run through our full product line a little quick on the cavity insulations because we've been in the market for some time. Timberfill, a blowing fiber, very similar to more traditional cellulose-based products, but nice, clean, easy install with that material, and helping in new construction or retrofit, and really raising the bar and getting better performance out of that. Not just continuous exterior with wood fiber board, but timber bat or timber fill on the interior. Good solid installations, retrofit as well in our neck of the woods in the Northeast, but far beyond. And not just residential. When we talk about timber bat, we've actually seen quite a bit of traction when it comes to acoustics. The thermal performance is solid. It's there, but I think that acoustic performance is also really, really important to key into. There's a certain amount of mass and density with wood fiber insulation that really helps to reduce transmission, to absorb sound. And again, not just in residential, we're getting into multifamily, of course, but we've had a couple of really large wins. Distribution center by Amazon went with CLT and chose us for the acoustic solutions in the interior. We've done a lot of the testing quite some time ago. We'll be adding more acoustic assemblies, but what we're seeing, showing here is on the right side of the screen. The graph is timber bat and timber fill in a wall, whether it's steel or wood framed. Acoustic solutions, we're in this case a little better than what you might find in a mineral based product, but parity in this example. And I think that it's just important to keep in mind that not only thermal solutions, but also acoustic. And of course, we've all been waiting for TimberBoard. It's been quite a road, a bumpy ride, if you will, but we've gotten that equipment up and running, and we've certified this material in thicknesses up to about 4 inches on our ESR as of December 1st. We're following with some additional testing as we make a lighter density, thicker board to get up to 9 1/4. And that range of R value, the permeability, the compressive strength, all that depends a little bit on those different thicknesses, but we'll have that information out for you as well. And for those that have been using European products, we're following the same formulations, the same manufacturing principles. The characteristics are going to be very familiar to you folks. And everyone asks about fire when we talk about wood. That's the first objection, particularly amongst those conventional folks that haven't really heard about wood fiber insulation. You may have seen this little demonstration we've had running on our website for quite some time, but I like to share this abbreviated version of it just because it gets to the point. That charring, that ability to take on high heat, it has such a great capacity for heat, really does not transfer through. And what you end up with is with a product that is Class B. It's not even a Class A fire rated product. Greater fire resistance, allowing for time. The point is, with a fire rated assembly, have the time to get out of the house, get out of the building. And you can see in this example very clearly, it takes the heat quite well and quite fire resistive on its own. Another one that we've shared a few times, but this is a College of the Atlantic project, and the significance of the chunks in the top left of the screen are the durability of it. This is a job site construction in Maine. Somebody decided to make some steps, and they left them there for the duration of the job, and they held up just fine. It's not the typical application I'd recommend by any means, but that bulk water, moisture shedding off of the exterior, still remaining vapor open, allows that building to breathe when it does get wet. Water does happen. But even with direct ground contact and muddy boots, it's pretty rugged stuff. I've mentioned a little bit about the heat capacity that we are so fond of when we are looking at the board product. That really has a very compelling story when we look at it compared to delays of heat gain. You can picture the sun beating down on a roof or a sidewall with these three comparable insulations side by side. And very quickly in that time frame, the highest R value material actually passes through heat much faster than either of the other two products. And wood fiber down the middle actually keeps a solid, steady, low temperature for much longer. The graph on the left represents that. You could try to stretch this out in, instead of minutes, 30-minute increments or hours. And you could imagine that when you have a shift in the day where it's cooler at night, hotter during the day, we're going to delay that heat gain into the building much longer, stretching out into the cooler parts of the day where it may actually never warm up in that house. As long as it has the time and the temperature to cool down, it's a reset and there's no cooling load on that. Finally getting out in the market, we've got a couple of early projects. This is one that was with our pre-certified board, but like I said, we're fully certified at this point and looking to broaden that photo database of installs. And also just wanted to mention that, we're very interested in other applications. We're seeing mass timber, some projects that are a great fit. There's a little video of our thickest boards coming off the line in the facility. It's a great material, a great story when we talk about CLT. And it's been really exciting to get this far and looking forward to moving on into the future with innovation with the support of local universities, with some added research with Oak Ridge National Labs and other folks. Really excited to look at next steps and innovate on this product that we're now bringing to market. Might have rushed through that a little bit, but that's my contact information, and I believe Shannon's also shared that as well. And happy to open it up to discussion, Kevin, or
Yeah.
questions and answers.
One of the things I'd like to point out is the great document that you guys have on your website of that installation guide. The installation guide has some great standardized details that explains a lot about the product and its multiple uses. So kudos to you guys. I put it in the chat. Hopefully you guys can take a look at it. And you guys have put forward a great product, and I believe there's a limited warranty. I don't know any other installation product, board product that has a warranty like you guys are offering. So you're supporting it as well. I'm excited myself personally to see it out in the market. I've had experience installing the European products here, and a few both as a installation installer, blowing in the loose fill on an early adopted project here in Brooklyn, and then on another project in Brooklyn using the wood fiber board. It was always great to use, and I can't wait to use something that isn't shipped from Europe but shipped from Maine and used with a second generation product. You guys are taking wood chips that would be kind of like, not really, they'd be made into other products, but to then use them as insulation. So almost like a waste product, and now we're making it into something better for tomorrow. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a really compelling part of it. A number of things that really make me feel like I'm in the right place at this point in my career being with this company is that we're talking about economic revitalization. We're talking about a mill town that was shuttered. Happens to be a mill town that my grandfather grew up in, moved away, came back, a few generations later, I guess. So there's some connections and continuity to that. And, domestic manufacturing, this is a U.S. Based product. And like you mentioned, forest product residuals. We're not harvesting anything. We're filling a gap here in the state of Maine when it comes to paper production. We're using those same softwood chips. And that's the same story that we've heard from Michigan and Wisconsin and Pacific Northwest, and even down south. Texas even has an overabundance of residual materials that could be better used than sent to landfill or biomass. And, certainly some other products out there that are beneficial, but I really think this is such a perfect fit for that. And we've got so much of it here in North America.
That's great. And on another note, something that excites me in my career is also to see the TimberBoard being launched, because as a firefighter, seeing burnings build and how they burn, our dynamics are rapidly shifting in that world. We used to be really concerned about internal fires spreading to other buildings, but now with wildfires, we're having a lot more risk of external fires, wildfires, other buildings coming in contact with our products. And to see the wood fiber board outperforming real fire testing, in the real world, testing is testing, but to have a product you could install that be vapor open, but also fire resistant and give you that little extra safety. We've had so many projects from the Colorado fires and West Coast. I think it's a great opportunity to get these products on those projects. So
yeah, it's interesting. We've been talking a lot about that because the WUI codes are expanding well beyond where they used to be, and that's really a critical area, and it's just resiliency in our buildings in general, I think, and a lot of it's systems. And so I think there's a place for wood fiber insulation in those systems as well. Not going to be hanging out exposed, need to be protected, and a few extra things need to happen to make them work well. But one of the things that I may have alluded to is sort of early on, next step is innovation. We're already working at adding mineral salts or maybe even lignin-based materials to the board to increase the fire resilience, to get into that Class A fire resistance. That is not very typical in the European market. They do it to some degree, but oftentimes they're working with masonry construction, they're stuccoing over it, not as much stick frame over there. But there's a huge demand with stick frame, with conventional lumber, and increased fire resistance, and especially when we get into the other building types, mass timber and type 3 construction, multifamily, those sorts of things. So very excited to move forward with that. We might even get to that within the first quarter, second quarter of next year, adding additional thicknesses on the ESR, selling those third-party verified just the same right now, but expanding that Class A fire resistance board as an option as well.
Great. And I'm pretty sure we have access to an air barrier that has fire resistant ratings to it as well, a membrane. I believe that's in the Partel product line that we have on our website. And we can find the system, and we hope to develop these systems that match well with everything that we sell. So we can sell the air barrier, the insulation, give support, help with details. So it's exciting to be a part of this team and connect projects together. If you guys want to, I'm just going to change my screen a little. We'll segue into my little science experiment here, make this a workshop and learn. So let me just pause for a second. Feel free to fill the room as I change screen. All right.
Yeah, I'm excited to see your science experiment, Kevin. Thank you for setting it up in the background. And Jason, fantastic presentation. We've got a lot of great questions in the chat, and we'll get to those in just a minute. But I love the slides, and we will make those available to everyone after the presentation. We'll send those out in an email. If you're interested in booking time with Kevin or John or I to talk about TimberHP and TimberBoard products, we are here and ready to help you out. And looks like Kevin's got the experiment up and running. Maybe we can pin his screen so everyone can see it.
All right. So what we have here is just a regular hot plate. Don't touch, it's hot. Let me tell you that. All right. And it's a hot plate just creating heat. And I have mason jars here that are filled with, there's water in the first one with no cover. And you can see condensation is actively going through it. Then we have the insulation product, which is an XPS, and you can see that there's no condensation going through that, even though the water temperature is at 140 degrees inside of there, all right? The number you see there isn't Celsius, so it might be confusing for us, but as you can see that there's actually condensation developed on the TimberHP board product. So there's proving that moisture does go through the insulation. So if this was your wall assembly, you would have the vapor going in. It wouldn't get trapped in the wall. All right. So I think that goes across. I'll turn the screen around to my camera. Sorry for the change.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, I was talking with now retired building scientist and mentioned that we are both hydrophobic and hydroscopic. And they said, you can't do that. You can't be both things at once. And that is true, I guess. Technically, I'm not trying to break the laws of physics or anything like that. But I think that's one of the superpowers when we talk about wood. At the fiber level, we're treating things at the fiber level. We're really processing this very minimally. And so we're taking wood, which is really good at capillarity and moving water around. We all know about roots being that source of moisture movement up through the cellular structure of the tree and getting it to the leaves and then evaporating out and all of that good stuff. We're not really messing with that too much, and we're treating the binder and the paraffin, the wax that we add for a little bit more of that hydrophobic quality to it, and we're just consolidating that into a new format. And so it does have that ability to really let that moisture out. And And we've had some really interesting research through the Advanced Structures and Composite Center and Forest Products Lab out in the other Madison, out in Wisconsin, talking about the ability to really slow moisture intrusion, very much like that little heat display. It just takes a long time for the moisture to get in because it tends to kind of lock it up. It swells up a little bit at the surface, really dimensionally stable, and then takes a long time to move through. But when it does, it tends to diffuse and it's a big, huge moisture buffer. So those driving rains that get past the cladding, that get into the rain screen, that hit the timber board, it might wet out on the surface, but it's going to take very little for that to hold it at that line until it has the ability to dry or to diffuse through the field itself. So really exciting to get into that and get geeky with that with some more research out there too, because I think that's very compelling stuff.
I know my personal anecdotal experience with moisture in wall assemblies. It was my first passive house project, and the wall was filled with cellulose, and it was a bulkhead on the outside, and they did a peel and stick on the outside. And then as we were fixing one of the actual penetration holes that were there, and as I'm digging out the cellulose, the last inch or so, I started to feel moisture, and my head was just like, wow. This isn't a lie. This really happens. And it was cool because as you took it out, the moisture, it was all around that little air leak that was running through, hitting the cold surface, and then be absorbed through the cellulose. And as we were cleaning it out, it got drier and drier. And over time, when you really think of it, the cellulose nature of the paper, as newspaper, but as wood, it'll diffuse the moisture throughout it and it'll give it off. It won't be trapped in the wall and create damage and be wet for a really long time. So I'm really excited to work with these products and you guys and develop this market. So, okay. Shannon, we got questions, or Jason, you have any other comments or?
I can always keep talking, but happy to answer questions. Usually some spirited debate that comes in the Q&As often.
Yeah, definitely. And you can vamp on any of these questions and invite follow-up questions from folks. But our first question up is from Benoit Menu. I am hopefully saying their name correctly. I don't believe you all have the ability to come on screen and ask your questions live as we had intended, but I can ask it for you, or Kevin, if you jump into the run of show, we can switch off and take turns. And Benoit's question is, you don't need to tape the seam since it's tongue and groove, correct? So here's a good example of that tongue and groove, if you can see my screen.
Yes, yeah, the tongue and groove is something that we will be launching hopefully later next year or into next. We're going to be square edge to start. We are working on the profile equipment. This has been a really interesting thing with the European boards, either a tongue and groove or almost like a shiplap, a positive drainage down and away. And I do think that it will prove out well as even as a weather resistant barrier. What we have landed on with our install guide is some fairly conventional practices of adding WRB to the structure, extending the window box out. And I think for most applications, it's pretty straightforward. And the belt and suspenders way is multiple layers and stagger the joints. You could prime the joints or the gaps and tape them. I really do think that's very thorough. But my experience so far with the R&D level of work that's been done by UMaine and others is that it's typically just going to shed that water. And another option, even without the T&G profile, different story on a roof, but certainly on a sidewall, not as much concerned by that.
Great. Thank you so much. Our next question up is from Aaron Sauerhoff. Hopefully I'm saying your name right, Aaron. He's super excited about this and he wants to send the recording to his teammates. So we will share the recording online and we will give you that link in via email. So thank you, Aaron. And Peter Reiger wants to know, is TimberBoard suitable for lateral bracing?
Well, it's not intended for lateral bracing. Even just holding, we get this question about whether or not it can act as a nail base. The real benefit of dry process wood fiber boards is that it is a lighter density, that we can create this big homogeneous panel with lower density. Traditionally, if you call it wet process, the wood fiber board that is in the market currently and has been for quite some time in both Canada and the US typically is a real high density board. It could hold a nail, it can do bracing and all of those sort of things. If you get your hands on this board, you could probably just build a house out of it straight as it is. It's stiff, it's rugged, it's firm, but it's not really meant to be part of a racking control. In the European market, we typically see, and I know a lot of practitioners here in the States have adopted this well. They'll add some bracing on the interior, OSB as an air control layer instead of sheetrock or plaster frame, and then just add the board to the outside. So again, it's still not bracing, but you're dealing with the structure. I've certainly had a few engineer-minded folks talking about how they're just going to build with it, and actually been discussing this, making little saunas out of it, just because. One story, it's a small building, well insulated, probably be a nice little fire in there. So
a sauna is a very nice application for this. I think so. Paper, it's a big experiment, kind of like what I was just doing there.
Yeah.
Wood.
Yeah, and it doesn't lose its R value when it gets wet, unlike some insulation.
No, I mean, we could put some kind of vapor control in there, but I mean, just imagine a nice little fire. You could probably stay in there for 20 minutes at a time, but you could keep going in for hours.
If you need a Northeast demonstration, sauna, we could have a conversation about that.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
Just to piggyback on that, one of the projects that I worked on a few years ago was a friend's house, and he had a cathedral ceiling, and we used the board product to laminate, to eliminate the thermal bridges of that cathedral ceiling. So we used it inside. We didn't remove any of the sheetrock. We just put it up. The wall with the ceiling was already insulated, and then we laminated and put another piece of 1/4-inch sheetrock over the top of that. I think we used 1/4-inch, but we probably should have used 1/2-inch. But but it was a great application. Eliminated the thermal bridges and boosted the R value for that 2x8 construction that was there. So just there's plenty of innovation we can do with this product and find other applications for it.
I really like the movement towards continuous exterior. I think it totally works on the interior as long as you're paying attention to those details. You're controlling airflow and all of that good stuff. Whenever you can kind of separate that the bones of a house to the sweater that should go over it, that's great. And if all of that structure is hanging outboard of the insulation, that's fine too. I like the idea in masonry retrofits. I know there are other products on the market like this, but this is a system that I think can work with ours as well. And it's just getting more thermal resistance in that wall assembly for sure. It's good stuff.
Perfect. We have a next question up from Kristen Cora, who is from Climate Adhesive, which is a product we carry on Source 2050. And she is excited for the circular economy practitioners. She loves your story. And she's been unfamiliar with this product until now, but she wants to play with the resilience of the fellow Source 2050 product friends, and maybe wondering what kind of combinations you've had with adhesives. Have you done any adhesion tests? Do you have certain adhesives that you like to play in the sandbox with?
I have not done a whole lot, just because the playing that I've done has been on European products. So I don't think that there's too much difference with what we are producing. Styco is predominantly pine. Gutex is spruce and fir. We're a blend of spruce, pine, and fir. There are some changes, some things that happen in the wood chemistry, especially when you're loading more on the pine side of things than the fir side of things. But in the end, the process is the same. The line that we have just finished commissioning, spent a good 7 or 8 years, which is pretty young in manufacturing years overseas. It came from the European marketplace. So I am very confident that we're producing something of the same caliber as people are familiar with from imports. And I think there are lots of opportunities with adhesives, with liquid flashings, and look forward to opportunities to play more. We've got a technical services team and someone who's been part of the inside sales and marketing team has finally gotten her full workshop. So I'd love to bring crazy new ideas down to those folks. We get to build prototypes and play with stuff. So looking forward to it. And I will say that there's been a bit of research with wood insulated panels. This is DOE sponsored. This I referenced to the UMaine folks earlier on. Still not published all of this information, but I know they have found solutions where they can laminate structural panel to it, OSBs, plywoods, that sort of thing. And I believe that would work well with a number of different adhesives. So happy to explore further for sure.
Yeah, we love to incubate products and join these things together. So I can see their non-slump working very beautifully with this. And I think I see a mock-up in Kevin's future for that. So
there you go.
Yeah, great. Our next question is from Courtney Rupp, and she wants to know, where can you find spec downloads and code compliance for the Canadian market?
Canada. I'm the Canadian guy. We're lower Canada here in Maine. It's there's a bump that goes right over, but I think we're lower Canada. We are right around the corner. I have done everything I can to get product into the market, including developing acceptance criteria because there aren't standards. We've gotten the U.S. code compliance, and that is the baseline for our shift to the north. We have gotten a UL Canada code report, evaluation report for TimberBat. So that should be available just about any time. Probably January would be official, but that information is available on the IQ Prospector, I believe, UL's database. And I am following this same approach for now for TimberBoard. Probably take another month or so before we get that finalized. I've got some additional testing to do, some variants in the fire testing, and some of the asks from the Canadian team up there. So it's coming. It's coming. We don't have it quite yet. Early adopters, that's a different thing. I might not need the code reports. That's something. It's another approach. But to have something fully certified, it's going to take a little bit more. We're getting there though.
Great. Well, you just asked answered the next question from Fabrizio Mazzo for when it can be obtained in Canada. So we'll hop over to Tapani's question, which is it bug proof?
Is it bug proof? Yeah, this is another one. We get fire bugs and water. It's a wood-based product. Fire bugs and water. I think we've talked a little bit about water and how it manages it. I mean, it's not impervious to it, but the same testing for cavity insulations as any other holds up for durability. And eventually it could succumb to it, but probably your entire building will at the same point. Same goes with fire.
Borate or anything like that in there?
Yeah, we don't.
Away?
We add borates to our cavity insulations, and we're experimenting on the board.
Okay.
Interestingly, for decay resistance, which is an ASTM test where they add a little sample in a little petri dish and incubate that for 6 weeks. Even the board product, without additives holds up just fine, will not grow mold in that time, as long as it's allowed to dry. Now, those, of course, are tiny bugs. I suspect the question's about a little bit bigger creepy crawlies, and it is not impervious to, it's not insecticide, it does not control termites. I really see that as an assembly problem. It's not meant to be the first line of defense. It's possible that we could add enough borates where it could be an insecticide, but that's really not our focus. So in some areas of parts of the country, we're going to see a greater risk, or certainly as we get into the warmer climates. And that's really about keeping the bugs out. So when we talk about a vented cladding a system, a rain screen, we need that to be covered by screening. We need some kind of material in there that keeps the critters out. And if it's at or near grade, then maybe additional protections need to be put in place to keep the bugs out. You know, if you look at crawl space applications in the southern parts of the states, there's an inspection strip. The structure is susceptible, the materials can be susceptible. So it really an assembly solution more than a product solution.
Yeah, and then in our passive house world, that's what the air barrier's for, right? That's the impervious or the pervious but airtight layer that's going to keep all those bugs out.
Sure,
So
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
and protect that structure. So Kevin, if you can see this chat, I'm happy to take turns. But our next question is from Ranger Penny. Hi, Ranger. Great to see
Hey,
you.
Ranger.
He asks, if the dry process is much lower density than wet process, how much impact does that have on the R value and the thermal diffusivity in comparison to the products on the market in Europe? I think we answered half of that question, but not the other half.
That sounds like a Ranger question. That's a good one. You always diving deep into that. Typically, wet process boards density is above 15 pounds, 15 to 30 pounds per cubic foot. After that, you're getting into the hundreds. You're talking about MDF or some other much more binder involved panel that's really talking about a structural panel. Ours we could probably reach 15 pounds or even go over 15 pounds per cubic foot, but our mid-range density is around 9 pounds per cubic foot. I think that if you had the same amount of lower R values in that, so even our lightest density to our mid-range density, we're going to lose a couple tenths of an R value as we go up, and it'll continue to go up. So at the highest density, R value is probably about 3.4 per inch. At the lowest density, we're getting to 3.7. So it doesn't sound real exciting, but the benefit of dry process, and I think also thermal mass and diffusivity, is the mass that we can create. So I can, in a single pass, in almost the same amount of time on a production level, produce a 9.25 board. Big heavy board, but that also really works well with diffusivity and slowing that heat gains down. So I think if you were to laminate up wet process board, which will not go more than half or 3/4 of an inch, that's a very thin product, they have to laminate, there's more process in there. It could be greater thermal mass, if you will, but the conductivity is going to be lower because of that density. So it's a trade-off. And I think we found a sweet spot of specific heat capacity, low conductivity, and high density, but not being too high, that makes it work so well with dry process board. Hope I answered that enough.
It's a difficult conversation, not an easy question, I mean, quite complex. So you did a great job. Shannon, I'll take the next question. It's from David, correct? All right. He's inquiring what our delivery times are for the West Coast. So currently, the products are produced in Maine, and we have distribution partners throughout the U.S. that then would help distribute the product to the West Coast. So right now, if you go on Source 2050's website, you click the product and you do an inquiry, and it will get back to you within 24 hours, most cases, of what the shipping time would be. So if you can imagine, say you were ordering a full truckload of TimberHP boards, it would be produced in Maine. We'd go through our distribution partners. They would pick up the full truckload and send it across to that time. So it all depends on logistics. And then we can also make a special arrangement with some sort of LTL shipping that may not be through the distributor, but through a third party. But that'll all be handled on the website, and we can quote that and figure out what those are. In the future, we're hoping that the market gets so big that we will have a West Coast distribution partner that is stocking either mid-country or West Coast, that would then streamline and make those processes a lot faster and easier for everyone. So, John, am I correct there, or any?
100%. Yeah, 100%. And I'll use this as a teaser that we're starting to roll out automated freight calculations on Source 2050, and it's available currently for I think up to a truckload of TimberBoard. So if you go in and put in how many pallets you need, you'll get a quote right in your shopping cart. Right, just as Kevin described, the method we've been using is, if it's going to be an LTL delivery, there's a 24-hour process where we pull the quote together, and then you'll have the cost and the delivery time. But we're hoping to automate that right in the cart, so you can do that currently for pallets of board, and we're going to be rolling that out across the site in the future. But as far as lead time, it's in stock. It's available in Maine. It's just a matter of when can we get a truck to wherever you are in the country. And it's been pretty reliable so far.
Yeah. Shannon, the next question was that about the VOCs, correct?
You got it.
All right. So, Jason, the question is, and I think I know the answer, but I'll let you answer it, are there any VOC that come off the product, off gassing, that anyone should be concerned about?
It's a really interesting question, because we started chasing Green Guard and other certifications based on VOCs in our cavity products, and we figured should be pretty straightforward. We'll take care of this, real quick. And lo and behold, there's nothing that we're adding to it. We're not adding any VOCs. Didn't expect that. The binders are pretty innocuous in all the products that have them. We're adding the borates. They don't off gas. The paraffins. All of these sort of things are pretty much non issues. But I will tell you what does off gas, and that's wood. And so it is somewhat
like
ironic.
A happy answer.
Yeah.
One line.
It's kind of a funny thing. So still a little bit of work around that. It's bio-based, but so are volatile organic compounds. We're not creating a binder that is going to remain and have half-lives of time. I think that it's probably a matter of months where it's getting to acceptable levels. But the current configuration for VOC testing, the California Public Health standard that everyone abides to, is really talking about binders in urea formaldehyde and MDFs and furniture and all of these things that should be a concern for indoor air quality. So it's a long answer to a short question, but I think that it is not a concern. But the metrics and the standards, like so many things with wood fiber insulation products, may need to be changed a little bit, or at least clarified, because that's why pine smells like pine.
And I think that long answer was great, because it partially answered the last question that we had about whether or not the paraffin and the PMDI are bio-based binders, and maybe what the path is in the future for exploring binders that are even better. But I had a quick question for you, Jason, just about attachments. How do you see folks attaching the board product in their assemblies? And what's the most creative attachment you've seen out there?
I think it's going to come through with our sauna build out, but that's top secret information. But, I would say that baseline, there's a lot of good resources from Europe, but what we've done, the install guide that you referenced, is a short body of work that started in some haste because we had put that aside early days and then worked on commissioning the line. We're like, oh yeah, we need to tell people how to use this stuff. We've got attachment guidelines in there. Really promote vented assemblies and allowing this board to dry. I think it's just the win. And so strapping's straightforward. That means screws that are strong enough to go back to the structure itself. Most of the time that actually means going to framing and framed construction. CLTs, of course, a different thing. I think there are creative solutions. I think people can attach in all sorts of different ways. But we've got that baseline in the install guide, and we also do have some references for heavier claddings. We're just starting with light claddings, because that's most typical. But that, getting the board up on the wall, it's screws, nails, hold it in place, and then start working out on your rain screen, and the rest of the pattern falls together.
Perfect. Well, thank you.
The project I worked on, we used cap screws with to go through to fasten the board up to get it in place and hold it there so it doesn't blow away in the wind. And then our furring strips were our main fastening system.
Exactly.
Tie it back in, and that furring strip also created the rain screen for us. So
yeah, and I've even seen folks just start the first course and maybe skip all of the strapping that they need, but get a few leaders up there, if you will. And so now all of a sudden you've got this structure started, and you've attached the first board, and then you slip in the next layer and the next layer, and now you can tack those in and even use less that way because you're not having to do that initial tacking. You're laying out your pattern and the spacings for the structural attachment back to the structure itself.
Shannon, I think I saw two last questions, I do believe. One was about the PMDI and then the paraffin wax. We answered that one already. So
looks like there's something that just came in. There was an earlier one. We are using actually an emulsified MDI currently, so we're actually diluting this a little bit with water. We are using paraffin. These are not bio-based. But they are effective, and every European manufacturer I'm aware of is predominantly using the same configuration, the same kind of ratios. Would love to find a way to get away from that, and I know there's quite a bit of research around that. Even getting back into byproducts of the paper industry, in addition to fire resistance, lignins. We've found that if we over compress our just refined fiber and allow it to cool down in the bag, it gets pretty hard again, dangerously hard. It sort of reconfigures itself to some degree, but not enough to give the kind of strength and structure that we're looking for in the board. One thing
Jason,
that's very nice. Yeah.
Sorry. No, I was saying, we Source 2050 is partnering with the Health and Materials Lab at Parsons, and you're one of the products that they've added to the database. And we kind of had this conversation. I spoke with Scott a bit about you had looked at non-poly binders for a while, and there was like the carbon footprint of the manufacturing process was actually it yielded a worse kind of life cycle analysis than the poly. So it's clear that you're looking for the better solution. And it's just like, it's not if there was something easy, you'd be using it, and that doesn't mean the search won't stop. You're actively finding it, but there isn't an obvious alternate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just for the health and safety of it, someone mentioned red list. The first two are red list free. And MDI, once it's cured, is really pretty harmless stuff at that point. Certainly not ideal still, but the best solution so far.
Yeah.
Right. I see one last question is about compressive strength. It says this is from David E. what is the PSI compression for sleepers for heavy cladding? I'm asking for a friend, an engineering friend. Wink, wink.
I would say reach out to the info at TimberHP, connect with our technical services team. We've released in our guide, we have like up to about a 5 pound per square foot cladding, but we do have some numbers. I don't remember those off the top of my head. But you know, it's just getting to a heavier gauge screw and getting that back. We don't see any appreciable compression on the boards. You know, we've tried. Our quality manager is a big, strong young lad, and he tried putting the much force on the screws to attach a 9¼ inch board into a wall just for fun to see if he could smash it, and it was pretty clear he was not going to get it to budge at all. That's the movement that gets created with any sagging of the siding of the rain screen. It's really about the compression of the board. The PSI strength on even the lighter density boards is more than enough for most typical cladding types.
And from a craftsman's point of view, having less compressive strength and trying to get
Scott Johnston.
a building level and plumb and square and not be over compressed is awesome. Because I know the project I worked on, they were shimming in and out to try and get it to be perfect. And the board was helpful in that it wasn't over tightened and moved the whole wall back. So I'm
yeah, that's one of the things we hear that from folks is just the amount of time. You know, there's more weight to it than other products out there, but that lack of compression in the board product really helps it go up nice and flat and true and quickly.
Yeah. And there is a future in the future. You guys are setting up to deliver the product in 2 foot lengths and 2 foot widths, right?
Yeah, we've got a really, one of the things that I've talked a little bit about the benefits of this above and beyond just being a great product in the market is revitalization and all of that sort of stuff. We've got former paper engineers, wood technologists, we've got wood manufacturing folks that have decades of experience in other industries, in other heritage product industries, and they are so great at MacGyvering and figuring stuff out. Nothing that we had put into the facility worked as it should have. And they've all been innovators and industrialists along the way, and I really appreciate that. They figure stuff out, and we're looking to continue that well into more innovation with the board product, not just the equipment that we have in the facility. So rip saws down the middle, that's coming soon. TNG profile, expect that that is in the works currently. And then who knows what will happen next.
Great. Well, look, I want
my
to
spirit animal, so I'm all in. All right, I like those people.
Well, I just want to quickly thank everybody. We're just over the top of the hour. I think we've gotten to all the questions, but this was great. As I mentioned, this is the inaugural episode of the Source 2050 product workshop series. We're going to be doing these at least once a month, maybe twice a month next year, starting in 2026. So watch your email for the next. But I think this was really a great opportunity. I know a lot of people were excited for the board to finally launch, and want to thank Jason for joining us here, and Kevin and Shannon as always. This was wonderful. Have a great day, everybody. We will follow up with an email with the notes from this call, and reach out for any questions that we didn't get to that come to you after this, or if we can help with any project you've got.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks all. Have a good one, and have a great holiday if we don't talk before.
Take care.